See, Donald Trump and his team had a problem. They finally released the Epstein files and they basically said they didn't find anything. Now, as you could imagine, this was a problem for a lot of folks because it just wasn't believable for a majority of people. For those that don't know, everything surrounding Epstein was seemingly very well documented. Now, real quick, this rundown right here, this part's a YouTube exclusive. It's turning to a vertical style in like a few minutes. Now, what I mean by well documented is Epstein was clearly a monster. Now, that monster had an island, and on that island, he committed very heinous crimes. But also on that island was a bunch of cameras. Now, the purpose of that camera seemed to be for blackmail because Epstein had very powerful friends that would join him on that island and join him in committing these heinous crimes. And when I say powerful friends, I mean some of the most powerful people on the planet would show up to Epstein's island and hang out. Hey, look, it's Bill Gates. Now, Donald Trump and his team's response to all the cameras was, it was just Epstein on the cameras. It was literally just him filming himself committing these heinous acts. No other powerful people, which just sounds totally unbelievable. Now, another thing they said that sounds unbelievable was Epstein himself. Now, the general belief is that these same powerful people that Epstein was filming on his island had him when he was arrested, so Epstein wouldn't snitch on them. But nobody really cared because, again, Epstein was a monster, so they're like, well. But now people care. I don't think people care about the fact that Epstein is. They care about how he was. Because if powerful people are the people that him, cool. But where are those powerful people though? You know what I'm saying? Because now people want those same powerful people that seemingly had him. They're saying, okay, well, it's not over though. We want all of y'all. But Donald Trump and his team are basically saying, no, it was just Epstein. He himself, case closed. Why are y'all still talking about this? Literally, they're saying, why are y'all still talking about this? Now, as you can imagine, this is pissing people off and people are not going for it, especially because of what Donald Trump and his team were doing and saying before they released the files. Now, I'm gonna explain further, but let's switch to that vertical style right here. Now, listen closely. Before Donald Trump and his team released the files, they actually seemed really excited to show the world what they found, especially Donald Trump's Attorney General, Bondi. She's important, remember that name. Now, again, this is before the files were released. She hops on Fox News and says, like I said, trust this administration. Everybody who was on Epstein's island going to jail. The anchor says, how you know who was on Epstein's island? You got a list? She said, man, I'm looking at it right now on my desk. The anchor said, you got that list? Like for real, for real? She said, stop playing with me. It's right here, it's right here. But remember, when they released the files, they said they didn't find anything. There was no list. Trump administration mistake number one. Now, to understand mistake number two, we have to look at the FBI director under Donald Trump. Cash. Another lie. Before the list was released, Cash is on Joe Rogan's podcast. Cash says we ain't find no videos on Epstein's island. It was clear at this point something changed in the Trump administration. They went from excited to show everybody everything to we found no videos, we found nothing. Joe Rogan says, what about all the cameras on Epstein's island? Cash says, what cameras? If I had videos, I would show you right now. No videos of Epstein, there's no video. But when they release the files say something different. They say they did find videos. All of the videos being of Epstein, no other powerful people. Now, Bondi and Cash both made huge mistakes because they said statements that are either true or a lie. Again, Bondi said, I am looking at the client list right now. They released the Epstein files. Suddenly there's no client list. Cash said, no videos exist. They released the files. They say, no, we found videos. So people immediately call the Trump administration out. They say, we've caught you in a few lies. How many other things are you lying about? Now, here's where things start to get stupid. I'm serious. Prepare your ears. Bondi comes out and says, why does everybody think we lying? We released the files. We ain't find nothing. Why y'all think we lying? Everybody said, well, when you was on Fox News, you said you had a list of everybody who was on Epstein's island on your desk. Then y'all released the files and say y'all ain't know who was on that island. Bondi said, man, I ain't never said I had no list of his clients. Y'all tripping. Everybody said, that you, girl? She said, I don't know, is it? Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. I said, I had the files on my desk. I didn't mean the client list. There's no client list. Everybody said, well, that's suspicious, but let's put a pin on that. Cash, you said there's no videos. Now you're saying there are videos. Can we see the videos? Cash said, Everybody said, don't say you ain't say that. Cash said, that me? Oh, yeah. I'll show y'all a video right now. The FBI releases a video of the day Jeffrey Epstein gets. It's 11 hours of footage to prove nothing suspicious happened to Jeffrey Epstein and he just himself. But in this 11 hours of footage, A minute gets skipped. It goes from like 58 to 59. People are like, hey, yo! The attorney general says, oh, you know what? That always happens. There's a malfunction that the cameras in that prison have. I told y'all this is going to get stupid. At this point, people really feel like they're getting lied to, so they have to have a full-on sit-down press conference. Reporters ask, okay, what's going on with the Epstein files, y'all? Donald Trump opens his mouth to say, are we still talking about the Epstein files? Meanwhile, there's so much going on in the world. My heart goes out to Texas. Gaslighting 101. The attorney general says, don't worry, I'll answer the question. We don't know. There's nothing in the files. And that's the story they're sticking to. Now, this is a huge issue for Donald Trump's base. They're stereotypically very distrustful of the government, as most people are. But that's why Donald Trump came out in the first place saying, we're going to expose all these Epstein files and y'all could trust the government again. And then they get caught in all these lies, so it backfires. And many people in Donald Trump's base are upset with him right now. So Donald Trump's response was just to blame the Democrats. He literally says Hillary Clinton and Obama created the Epstein files. But what annoys me the most is they still haven't released everything on the documents, and they're saying they're not releasing everything because they're trying to protect the victims. Which makes me wonder who they think are the victims. But at the end of the day, I think Donald lost a lot of fans with this one. And to the remaining fans, you can't ignore this moment. Donald Trump and his team say Jeffrey Epstein committed all those crimes by himself. Stand by your boy. Then go stand in front of a mirror and say, wisdom is chasing me, but I am faster. Now, I also want to add this ending part for my YouTube folks as well. You need to be mindful of all the news outlets and people in general using the same rhetoric as Donald Trump and his administration, how you should forget about this whole thing and this isn't a huge deal. There's other things to worry about. They're basically trying to shame people for thinking about this situation. I saw a clip of Stephen A. Smith talking to Chris Cuomo or whichever Cuomo, basically saying like, why are people even still talking about this Epstein stuff? Like, I got a life outside of this. I'm trying to go out on a Friday night. And I'm thinking, it's simply just so clear why people are upset at this situation. I cannot believe that people like Stephen A. Smith and news outlets are not seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Epstein committed some of the worst crimes imaginable with other powerful people that we may vote for, powerful people that we may buy things from. Their power excludes them from justice. This is, I feel like, a valid thing to worry about. The fact that people are telling you, why y'all still thinking about this, is ridiculous to me, because it basically says out loud what people have already kind of known. If you're rich and powerful, you can get away with anything. Your own government will cover for these people. Again, I think many people have known a lot of times governments are not on your side. They're on the side of folks that are super rich and powerful. But I think the fact that this time it's just so obvious what's happening that it's really frustrating people. I think a lot of times people feel comfortable with calling something a conspiracy. That means they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to distrust their government. Okay, we good. Life can resume as normal. But this situation is just such a bad cover-up that people don't really have a choice but to be like, oh God, they have to confront reality. We have to confront reality, which is a good thing, I feel like. So again, the fact that news outlets and people like Stephen A. are saying, yo, don't confront reality. We going out on a Friday night. Why are y'all thinking about this? It just angers me, you know, to another level, because it's bringing back society. It's bringing people back. Crimes like the one that Epstein committed need to be brought out to the light. I think we can all agree on that. Everybody who committed these crimes with him need to be brought out to the light. The fact that they're covered up is one thing. And then the fact that people are saying, just forget about it, just really makes me think about the victims. Because what happens when something like this happens again? We just forget about it again? It just sets a precedent that I'm not liking for the future. So this is one of those things, man. This is one of those things that we got to battle back on. It's one of those things that needs to be remembered. If we all can't get up and riot about it, I think it being remembered is a lot bigger than people may think. JFK, Martin Luther King, those were turning points in American history when people stopped trusting their government, things that were remembered. That really screwed the government for decades to come. It made it harder for the government to just tell people what to do, which in my opinion is a good thing. The government is just your employee. You should be questioning everything your employee does that may go against your interests. So hopefully a moment like this allows people to question things a little more about their government. Anyway, that being said, I'll see you on the next one.